Polite Enquiries, day 3, Adelaide. Legacy Tell says, can we convert the remaining 3 tests into the series of ODIs instead? No.
It works for the women's Ashes. Points based, might be more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people just want it to go away in England. We don't seem to get many questions from Australia. I think by the end of play, Australians decide we're winning again. What are we going to ask? We've asked about Marcus Harris. We've run out of problems in the team. Imran says, why didn't Australia enforce the follow-on? I would assume, Imran, that is because their bowlers have been out in the field for a little while. It's a fairly flat Adelaide pitch. They didn't go through the tail as quick as they wanted, and there's plenty of time left in the game. But, I think they'll probably, almost no teams enforce the follow-on anymore, but I think they'll put half and half because they had 2 new bowlers in. Had they got maybe a wicket 45 minutes before, they might have actually done it. That probably the Wokes, who was at Wokes and Stokes' partnership is probably the thing that stopped them enforcing the follow-on in the end.
I think the real answer is that Steve Smith has been looking to create an exact replica of the 2017-18 tests at Adelaide, but just England stuffed up by not taking a load of wickets under the lights this time round. So, another failure for them.
The third man says, hasn't Chris Silverwood or Joe Root seen this happen 100 times before? Why aren't they doing anything? I feel like if you're going to accuse them of anything, it might be doing too much, not too little at this point.
I don't think replacing either coach or captain at this stage is going to make a particularly big difference to the result.
Well, I mean, if you look at Silverwood, you can say whatever you want. Every batter that he's had to work with outside of Joe Root has a serious issue in their game. And they keep coming up again and again. We're not getting around that, right? That's just what they do. And when you talk about Joe Root, he's made more runs than anyone else. What do you literally want to do? The only thing they haven't tried, and I know they've talked about this is how dark it's gotten, is using Chris Wokes to bat at number 3. That's the only thing they haven't tried. They haven't pulled off like an Irfan Pathan type move. Everything else they've tried. Imran again. What's worse, English batting, fielding, or team selection?
Is there an algorithm powerful enough to quantify all of these major errors and omissions? The batting, I think, is the major problem here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because
you've got to make runs in Australia.
I think the fielding is worse than the batting, right? At the moment, so far in this series. But part of the reason that the fielding is so bad is probably because of the batting, because everyone in England has now fielded in the slips because they've tried every batter available to them, which means they don't have as many specialist slip fielders as you would probably want. I mean, Rory Burns, I feel sorry for Rory Burns every time they put him back there. I just don't remember him taking catches. I'm sure he's done it. I'm sure if I go to the records in Stats Guru, it will have catches next to his name. But I don't remember it. It just feels like everyone gets rotated through that slips for England and they just all drop catches. Surely they could just catch slightly better than this. And I'm not just talking about this series where they've been horrendous, but over the last couple of years, they've just been bad. Like Ben Stokes drops a lot of catches at slip. And every time he drops one, we get hit. Oh, he doesn't drop many. Well, that's statistically untrue.
Yeah, no, they are bad on paper, bad on the field. But today it was just the batting that was bad. I think they didn't. I don't think they dropped a catch in that period of the.
They got a run out, didn't they? Hey, they're back.
Yeah.
Chad Rose says, has Harris already done enough to keep his spot? I told you, I hadn't even looked at these questions, Gardner. I knew there'd be a Harris question from the Australians. Or will running out Warner finally be the end? I'd like to think that you should get dropped if you run out someone good at the other end, but I don't think that's quite how it works unless it's a captain. I think they were always going to give Harris one more test regardless. There's no innings that Harris could play here that is going to change their mind if he fails again at the MCG.
This is a success for Harris. This is his best score in like 5 Ashes tests. He's into the 20s. There's no stopping him now. I was very impressed actually with the speed with which he made sure he got to the other end once Warner realised that there wasn't a run on there. Harris was not getting out.
Nirvana says, how long can Joss Buttler justify his position in Test cricket with both the bat and the gloves?
He's not having a good test, is he? I think, he's not alone in getting a lot of ducks this year. I think England are closing in on their all-time record from 1999.
They could be breaking the record for the most runs in a calendar year by a player, and also their own personal duck record. How very English.
We've talked about Buttler before, haven't we, and his future in Test cricket. I think he's a very good one-day player.
Fantastic T20 player. Open Mike says, more disappointing collapse today's or the one at the Gabba? I mean, for me, it's not even close. This one was so much worse. And I'm assuming he means the second innings. I think this was the worst innings that England had played in this Ashes. You can understand getting rolled early on at the Gabba. They made 150, but I thought that was a pitch that was at least tough to bat on. This looked like the best time to bat on this particular pitch was today. They had two guys set, and Australia had their two best bowlers not playing. What more does what could they possibly order that they didn't get?
Yeah, they proved it was the best time to bat by doing so throughout the morning, not losing a wicket. You got Nisa and Richardson looking sort of tidy but fairly unthreatening.
They looked unlike Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood. There's nothing wrong with them. I thought they both bowled well at times, although it did seem like they forgot Nisa was playing for a little while there.
Yeah.
But they just didn't look like Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood.
Yeah. And it spun a little bit for Nathan Lyon, and clearly that was all it took. But this was next level in terms of ballsing things up.
But we've still got the next innings to look forward to. We'll see you tomorrow.